What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, and as always, thank you all very much for tuning in. Really appreciate each and every one of you. I say it all the time, but I really do mean it. But coming up this weekend, we got round 8 of AMA Supercross and the Super Motocross World Championships at the most unique Gnarls Barkley National of the year in Daytona, Florida. Always a pivotal round of the series. It's definitely going to separate the men from the boys, and the best part about it all is I'm going to be in attendance to see it go down. But for today's video, we're going to do a little preview and talk a little bit more about the drama from last weekend with the red light controversy. I've already dove balls deep into the subject, but then I saw the video of the actual incident that caused the lights to be on in the first place. And I saw Honda's press release from Arlington, and not only are they very pissed, but it doesn't even sound like they think this is over yet either. Wild stuff. Then we'll talk a little bit about some generational talents in the 250E series, as well as the favorites in that series moving forward. We'll go over the stacked SMX Next entry list, as we'll have the future stars of Supercross in action this weekend. And of course, we'll do a track preview, track breakdown for the Daytona track designed by everybody's favorite farm animal, Bah! We'll get into the MX Simulator virtual POV lap, and we can't forget the fun stuff, my predictions for what I think's going down this weekend in Daytona in both 250 and 450 classes. Guessing who's going to finish where is near impossible, as the racing has been tighter than a monster girl's pants. Thanks to my comment section for that one over the past week, but we're going to try to do it anyways without choice. But before we do all that, before we get into all that, got to give a huge thank you and a shout out to my channel sponsors, because they're the ones who are helping me hold it down. They help me get to all the races and all the stuff that I go to. So please, guys, do me a favor and go check them out. Huge thank you to ASV Inventions, home of the Unbreakable Lever, Serious Studio, who can take care of all your merch needs, and the DesignLabCo.com. They got some great designs in their lab at their co, and if you need graphics, look no further than there. I have links and discount codes in my video description, and if you guys buy from them, a small portion of the sale goes to me to help keep us going. So if you're supporting them, you are literally supporting me. And also, I'm doing the TV announcing for the GT Arena Cross series on Fox Sports 1 and Fox Sports 2 with Daniel Blair. Here's the airing schedule. Would really appreciate it if you guys would tune in. Not only will entertainment be guaranteed in your contract, but it'll also help me keep my job. But thank you guys again for watching. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Alright, first topic for this week's video is Honda is not happy about the lack of penalties last weekend in Arlington. In both classes. It wasn't even just one. And I'm not even going to try to say I blame them. I mean, whether the decisions were right or wrong, it's in the contract for Honda to be pissed about it. But we've already been over both situations at length in a previous video. I'm not really trying to rehash what I've already hashed, but just to briefly summarize. In the 250 class, Derek Kelly had this insane accidental K-dub transfer from the whoops to backwards up the face of the finish line that brought out the red lights. Shimoda rolled the jump before the finish and the finish line and lost the lead and pretty much the race to Pierce Brown, while the 450 class had Roxon and Tomac jumping on a red cross flag on the finish line. No penalties were assessed because in the 250 race, the lead-in lights that were on the double before the finish were on, but there was no flag. In the 450 class, there were no lead-in lights, but there was a flag. I guess the lights and the flags need to align in order for penalties to be assessed, but why does it have to be so damn confusing? And honestly, in the 250 situation, the red lights would have made this even more dangerous if Kelly hadn't got out of Dodge and back into the race so quickly. Jumping over him would have been way safer, but it's still definitely a sketchy situation there. But he was gone in plenty of time before Joe came through, but the lights stayed on, and during what I think was a malfunction with the lights. Everywhere in the world, red means stop, or in moto it means don't jump, but then we have red lights on the small double that are supposed to just be a warning, but you can jump on them, but then if there's red lights on a triple, you can't jump. Just way too much to think about here. Seems overcomplicated for no reason, and I truly think the AMA is going to revise the system and rules after this disaster. Say what you want about the AMA, I mean, you guys kind of already have, but one thing I gotta kind of give them credit for is adjusting after a screw-up, like with the Hayden Deegan Budds Creek 2023 restart thing, or the Jet Lawrence gate jumping at Ironman 2025. But speaking of Jet at Ironman 2025, Honda was on the losing end of that outrageous penalty too. And now, these two back-to-back incidents in Arlington appear to be the straw that broke Lars' back, because the man is pissed. Well, actually, shoot, it's far from just Lars. We even got a few quotes in the Honda press release that explain their displeasure with the situation. Let's check some of them out. Lars Lindstrom said it was a huge morale boost for the team, but another bittersweet night, even though the result was fantastic. The bittersweet part is being on the short end of the stick when it comes to other riders jumping on red flashing lights and red cross flags. In the past, we've been penalized more than any team for this. Some deserved and some we didn't agree with at all, but in this case, it was clear to us that there were penalties necessary, which should have given us the win in the 250s and dramatically increased our 450 points lead. The team, Honda management, and I are absolutely infuriated that there was nothing more done in the situation after what's happened to us in the past for the same things. I'm very disappointed with the decision, and we will be fighting hard to have it overturned. Then, there was Honda's Brandon Wilson, who explained that their riders' accomplishments had been partially diluted by mistakes or poor decisions outside their control. In the past, their team's been on the losing end of red flag-related penalties more often than we would like. And while it was frustrating, we could at least understand that the rules were being applied. Now suddenly, the rulebook is being ignored in favor of tortured explanations about nuanced situations. Moving forward, we must get to a place where rules are enforced consistently, regardless of the rider or team involved. And lastly, there was Jeremy Maguire, Senior Manager and Customer Engagement, and he said, over the course of the past few AMA seasons, I think it's inarguable that Honda has been held to a different standard when it comes to the application of the rules, and honestly, I'm not sure why that is. Whatever the reason, this weekend was the icing on the cake, with the same on-track situation being interpreted in two completely opposite ways, with the only consistency being that our riders were the ones disadvantaged, despite the fact that they were the ones to correctly follow the letter and the spirit of the rules. The situation is very confusing to us, let alone the riders on the track. I want to be clear that I stand by our team management and our riders 100% in their efforts to do the right thing according to the rulebook that is provided to us by the sports sanctioning body. Wow, kind of crazy actually. I mean, we all knew they wouldn't be happy with this at all, but the fact that it pretty much dominated the Arlington press release is very telling. Usually those are just used to describe how the riders' races went, but Honda used it to send a message and let everybody know that they're not going to stand for it. But will they have a choice? As far as I know, the decision's already final. But I guess we have seen things overturned in the past, like the infamous RC lead and the fuel deal back in 2005 or 2006. But that was kind of also during an older and much less competent regime. I mean, it would be crazy to see this thing overturned after all the deliberation and explanations that they've already been given. As a fan, I gotta respect the passion of Lars and Honda and how hard they have their riders' backs. As a rider, that's the kind of team you want to ride for. And it's also kind of crazy that this whole concept of lead-in lights was introduced after Jet Lawrence was penalized in St. Louis in 2024 for jumping on a red cross. And who does Jet ride for? Oh yeah. But that's why they introduced lead-in lights, to give the riders a little bit more of a warning before the flag, since Jet was penalized for jumping right out of a corner and didn't even see the flag. I love the concept of the lead-in lights, but we gotta simplify this thing and make it to where the riders actually understand and it's actually in the rulebook. I'm definitely going to be interested to see how this dynamic goes moving forward with the Honda versus AMA beef. For their sake, I'm hoping nobody in red breaks any more rules anytime soon, but for entertainment's sake, imagine if something else happened already again this weekend. Honda would be unglued at the National. But in summary, I thought all this was over. Honda absolutely does not think it's over, and we all have no choice but to stay tuned. Next up, let's talk about some generational talents in the 250E Series and just the 250E Series in general, but I gotta start this off with Cole Davies and Caden Dudney. These kids are unbelievable. Coming into the E-Series, I knew Davies was going to be good. I watched him last year. I remembered being super impressed, but I somehow kind of forgot how impressed I actually was. From the first laps on press day, Cole looked unreal. So smooth, so technical, and so effortless, and of course fast as crap. And don't even get me started on the whoops. Holy New Zealand insanity. By far the fastest out of anyone at the race in both classes through the whoop section, and I even saw some data that showed that Cole's whoop segment times in the main event when the whoops were hammered were still faster than anyone else's time from earlier in the day. Truly amazing. And then there's Caden Dudney, Star Yamaha's new 16-year-old rookie that apparently didn't even know he was racing Supercross this year until a week before the race, and this kid is incredible. Right away, he caught my eye on press day by doing by far the biggest whips I've ever seen cranked on a Supercross track, and I am well aware that whips don't translate to racing, at all, but I've seen this kid's body of work already. I watched him set the Loretta Lynn's track record as a 14-year-old B rider, but the whips just had me freaking mind blown at how big he was going and how much bike skill he had. The kid looks beyond comfy in all parts of the track. He was even good in a mental set of whoops, and although he went down on the start of the main event and kind of rode around on Struggle Street, stay tuned to this kid having breakout rides ASAP as possible, maybe even this weekend. I won't be surprised at all if he puts it on the podium this year. This kid is that good. He once was a Team Green kid, and talk about Cowie and Pro Circuit dropping the ball on this one. Rumor has it that Mitch Payton doesn't want young riders anymore, but I would bet he's wishing that he wanted this one. Then, as far as the rest of the 250E Series goes, I think this championship's coming down to a four-man race between Cole Davies, Joe Shimoda, Seth Hammaker, and Pierce Brown. Brown's the one on the outside looking in for me on this list. Even though he won the opener, he's just never quite gone the distance or shown the consistency to be the champ, but he crushed the opener. There's really no way to ignore that, so until he does something that shows me why I should take him off this list, then I'm going to have no choice but to leave him on it. My main three are Cole Davies, Joe Shimoda, and Seth Hammaker, and coming in, I had it down to Davies and Hammaker, but I did not have Sushi almost winning the race fresh off a broken neck on my bingo card. Insane ride off of injury, and the dude should only get better as we go, so Joe was looking seriously dangerous for this thing. Hammaker had an okay start to the series. He cheated death in the first turn and got some solid points, but I think he had a really late start to the offseason, and I think he's going to get better as we go as well. Then there's Cole Davies. He's by far the best rider in the series, has the most skill, the best technique, and the most speed, but he's also the youngest, and mistakes do still happen. I think the only person on this list that can straight up beat Cole Davies is Cole Davies. If he doesn't self-destruct and he does what he knows how to do, then I think he's the favorite for this thing, but you never know if that'll actually happen. That's why we race. But 250 East is shaping up to be a banger, like it always is, and we haven't even started talking about East-West showdowns yet. Those are going to be insane. Then real quick, before we get into our track preview and our track breakdown, we'll go over the SMX Next entry list for this weekend in Daytona. 25 riders strong, the future of Supercross is here, and coming up this weekend, we're going to have Jeremy Fapani, Wyatt Thurman, Kane Bolasina, Jace Wolf, Owen Covell, Vincent Way, McCaden Fitch, Dane Morales, Aiden Kiefer, okay, Chase Lawton, Jessen Turner, Seth Dennis, Will Kanigher, Caden Minear, Alessandro Carminati, doing it for Mexico, Cade Johnson, Landon Gordon, Deacon Deno, Alvin Hillen, Gavin Betts, Riley Busey, Ashton Oudman, Diesel Thomas, Reese Wheaton, and my favorite loose unit of GT Arena Crash, Kane Larson. Now, if I'm doing highlight reel predictions, it's one person and one person only, and that's Kane Larson taking the win. He's a legend, but if I'm going for podium predictions, I'm going to go with Caden Minear, Landon Gordon, and Deacon Deno. Got to throw a shout out to Vincent Way. He's always got the speed to get in that top three, but he's also been a little bit of a highlight reel himself, so if he keeps it reeled in, he'll probably be on the box. Now we'll go ahead and get into our track preview, track breakdown for round 8 of AMA Supercross and the Super Motocross World Championship going down in Daytona this weekend. Always the most unique track of the year. It's always long, gnarly, it gets rough, rutted, all that good stuff. It's not quite what it used to be back in the early 2000s with the telephone pole whoop sections, but it's still different than all the rest of the rounds. But this year you got the start right down the middle into a right-hander. You're starting out on some dirt, then you're into some grass as you get halfway down the straightaway and through the first corner, it looks like, with a little bit of dirt on the outside. So that could be an interesting dynamic. But then some more grass in between a couple of lanes, and you do a little 90 to the left into the first rhythm section. And this first one looks like a little bit of an offset rhythm. You usually see these in the contract for Daytona, but I'm thinking it's probably just going to be a double, triple, double, or maybe a double, double, triple, some sort of variation like that. But then in the middle of the rhythm section, you got a little check step up, maybe a little bit of a wall jump or something. There's a couple of those on the track this year, so maybe they're trying to keep the speeds a little lower. They don't want to see any Levi Kitchen high-speed Indonesia Nationals like last year, but you do the little check jump step up, and then it's just 4 jumps on the way out, so either a double-double or a triple-single. Not too many options available through there, but then you got a bull corner, a 180 to the left, and then you're right in front of the grandstands, in front of all the fans. Supercross triple, basic yacht, and then this is a pretty cool little unique section here. You got a 353, and then you land into a little bit of a dragon's back, into an off-camber corner, so I'm loving the fact that the dragon's backs are actually back. It's not quite the same because you're not jumping off the dragon's back and landing somewhere, but at least we get to see the obstacle. But then off the dragon's back, then you're into an off-camber. You can either go inside tight and fight for traction, fight to try to stay balanced, or you can rail around the outside with the Trailer Park Girls down low around the bowl, and then if you go inside, you'll probably just roll into this next section. If you go around the outside, maybe if that thing has enough lift, you can double. I mean, I'm hoping that's what you can do, because if you're going to go that much extra distance, you got to be able to do something to make up for it. But then after that, you got a bull corner, a 180 to the right, and then another little strange section, bit of an option. You got a single on the way out, got some grass, and then you got some option singles. You got a single on the left, or you can go a little further into a single on the right. So maybe you would go outside and double and then launch onto that straightaway, or go inside and single, and then you would double and not launch down the straightaway. I don't really know. It's all going to kind of depend on how it's built when we show up and get there and see it. But then you're back across the grass, another ski jump single, back across the start straight, and then you're into a very similar section that they had last year. A big-ass option section. You can either go inside and then outside, or outside and then inside. But I like that. It keeps the options open rather than just seeing an inside, single file, funnel national. But then out of that second option corner, then you got a little ski jump back across the first corner, one more single, and then you're into your finish line. Style checks for the fans, for all the Daytona ladies. You name it, you're styling for them. But then you land the finish line, you got another little floater double, and then another one of these little check step-up wall jumps just to slow her on down, and then another small rhythm section. It'll either be a 2-3 or maybe a 3-2, or maybe there'll be more rollers. Who even knows at this point? But that puts you into another 180 bull corner to the left, and then you're into your whoop section. The whoops are always super tricky in Daytona. I don't know what it is. The rest of the track's all soft and sandy, but then they use this hard-pack red clay for the whoops, and it's usually dry, usually slippery. And for whatever reason, I always feel like the whoops are a little bit further apart, a little bit trickier in Daytona. So definitely stay tuned to that being a pivotal dynamic of the race. But then out of the whoops, another basic Supercross triple. I think this is like the first time of the year we've seen two Supercross triples on the track since Anaheim 1. And ever since Anaheim 1, they've been nerfing the triples and making them into doubles. So we'll see if there's actually 3 jumps there. We'll see if people will be jumping the Himalayas, or maybe they just change it to a double. But land the Supercross triple, then you got another little option corner. You can either go inside and have a lower entrance to that rhythm section, or you can go around the outside, rail the berm, and then you got a big face on the outside. That outside line should lead you into a triple and then a double. The inside should be a roll in and then a 2-2 into this next 180 bull corner, another one to the right, and then you got some white beach sand. Always gnarly. You'll see the guys even struggling to just go straight through there, and it'll definitely cause some carnage and some commotion. But out of that sand, then you got a little pop step up over the tunnel jump, back into some more white beach sand, a little chicane right to the left. I'm sure it's going to get whooped out and all jacked up through there, but then out of that last sand section, a single back across the start straight, and then one more single that puts you right into that first rhythm back off the start. And like we talked about off the start, it might be a 2-2-3 or a 2-3-2, but on the regular laps, so a little bit more run up in there. Maybe you could triple in, maybe a triple, maybe a triple quad. I don't even know. I'm going to just stop trying to guess, and we'll see what lines we get to see when we show up there for press day. But that's a lap around Daytona International Speedway for the 2026 rendition of the Daytona Supercross. Now, as we always do, I'll give you the POV from the virtual lap of MX Simulator, and I am the loosest unit of all time at Daytona. So I'm saying this before I've even played the track, but this might be a roller coaster ride. Strap in. And then last but not least, my predictions for this weekend in Daytona. It's already been a bit of a long video, so I'm going to keep it short. In the 250 class, I'm going to go with Joe Shimoda for the win, Cole Davies for second, and Seth Hamaker for third. Honorable mention to Pierce Brown. I'm probably a massive idiot for leaving him off, but I also was just having a really hard time leaving the 3 guys that I put on there off, so it's always tough to pick. What do I know? But then in the 450 class, I'm going to go with Eli Tomac for the win, King of Daytona. I know he's on a KTM now, but I don't see it changing. Then for second, I'm going to go with Cooper Webb, and for third, I'm going to go with Hunter Lawrence. But yeah, as far as those predictions go, as far as all this other stuff I've rambled on goes, that's a wrap on this week's video. As always, please let me know in the comments what you thought of the video, if you agree with my takes, if you liked the video, if you disliked it, anything in between. If I'm just a cooked unit, you guys know we're here for all that stuff. But thank you guys again for watching. Really appreciate each and every one of you, and stay tuned for some content from Daytona. No choice.